tagged it with a fluorescent orange tag, giving them, ample time to move it. They failed to do so, remove it off the right of way. So therefore, the city towed the vehicle. Mm. This is another residence. It's got multiple violations here. You got the overgrowth of grass, and you got the busted windows, but there's no address numbers on the house that's visible from the roadway. And that's very important in case you need to call 911 and have an emergency situation going on at your residence, and you need the ambulance, you need the police or fire to respond and find your house. There's no way for them to identify which house it is.
And one of the things I know when customers come in and we actually won't turn on utilities unless
that is correct.
And unless there's identifiable street numbers on the house. And I know people think that's a little bit strenuous on them to have to go to a store to get, but when a life is in the balance and people are called from emergency response to go to properties, having that information is so critical, because not every police officer, not every fireman, not every emergency responder is aware of every house in the city.
Correct. And
know exactly where that location is at. So it helps us identify and find those locations a lot quicker.
Sometimes minutes can mean your life.
Exactly.
Okay, here's another house that's on North College Avenue. You see the area in between the house is overgrown with grass. This is very dangerous for the citizens. There could be snakes in the grass and someone walking down the sidewalk, which you can't hardly see the sidewalk pictured here, but which, even if it could be a harmless rat snake, can make someone hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And so this is one area that we got to get, straightened out. Okay, I pictured this house. You really don't see much wrong with this. It has large 911 numbers on the front of the house, and it is secure. This is a vacant property. But what we had going on here is theft of electrical service.
Wow.
They actually stole the city's electric meter. The danger you have here, even though the meter's gone, 2 of the lugs that's in that meter can is still hot. If a child comes through there and actually touches it, it will electrocute them.
Not hot from heat, hot from electric.
Correct. Hot from electricity.
Right.
It still has a live line.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the overgrowth that you see around the meter can, for safety-wise, crime prevention, if you keep the shrubs cut down, it will help deter criminals coming to your house. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a house you'll see several slides from. It ranges from accumulation of junk, inoperable vehicles in the yard, animal control violations, and littering issues.
They had it all.
And that's our animal control officer, Glenn Christopher. He assisted me over at this call. He actually called me to come to this location because he had concerns about the animals in the backyard. This is the front of the house, right next to the right-of-way area. You see 2 used tires. The city North Solid Waste will pick up these tires. They actually have to take them to the landfill to have them disposed of, or take them to maybe a tire dealer and pay them to dispose of them. There's another picture of it with an overview. When you move to the backyard area, I'm waiting for my computer to catch up with me here.
There you go.
This is actually pictures of, there's an up close of the tires, and in the background you can see the coolers. If you notice on the mailbox, they have an address, on the mailbox. Citizens believe that is sufficient for it. Mm-hmm. But the city and county ordinance requires the numbers to be on the house, because you may have a neighbor who shares the same spot with you with the same location of mailbox. They just don't have area to put it in their yard. So therefore, whose house is whose when you come to.
Right.
Then again, there's, you know, coolers that's sitting outside the residence, and you can look in the leaf and limb debris that's still around the shrubs that's just right off their porch area. There's another picture. It's either looks like tin laying on the ground with the empty Coke bottles just laid out in the yard. And this is going towards the backyard. You have a broken down lawnmower, inoperable vehicle pushed back to the wood line, and a camper shell that's turned upside down. And here's the dogs. They have a pen in the backyard, but it is not erected. And if you look, we have to zoom in, we look closer, the dogs are tethered to a chain. There's no water for them to get to. The water or feed bucket's turned upside down. And here we go. There the dogs are entangled.
Mm-hmm.
And once we was able to untangle the white dog, because we took them in custody, once we unentangled the black and white dog, immediately tried to get to water to the nearest water source. And I'll show that picture in just a minute. And here again, there you can see both of them is just tethered together or entangled together with the tether. This is their living conditions, and people believe that they can just take a barrel and put it like here, put it on top of a pallet and consider that as a doghouse. That is not, or that is one example of improper shelter enclosure. The city ordinance, I believe, specifies that a barrel cannot be considered a doghouse. Along with, when you find animals that's like this, you see trash just piled up. There's multiple, looks like paper and styrofoam plates in a leaf and limb pile. And then again, you have your roaches and your snakes and your rat infestations. There's just a closer up shot of it. Okay, here's where the dog, since we untangled him from the white dog, he went straight to the upside down camper shell to drink water. And then you look at the, you know, the water's nasty, full of algae. And so, and the dog also looks poor.
Yeah, it looks malnutrition.
Correct. So we did take these two dogs into custody.
Yeah.
Here's another hot topic we're getting into.
Especially around election time.
Correct. And these election signs posted on the city's right-of-way or on the state right-of-ways, we will remove the signs if they posted on our right-of-way. And if you are running for office, if you want to reclaim your signs, we'll have them there behind City Hall. If we do not have them, you can check with the Georgia Department of Transportation, because they are removing them also.
Right.
Here's another residence. You see it's got the children's toys in the yard, but the grass in the backyard is higher than the porch.
Yeah, it's at least 36 inches high.
Easy.
Yeah.
So
it's almost tall as my, I'll say, well, a little baby rather.
You know, and this is the, you know, overview. And
okay,
that concludes it.
All right. Well, I'm glad we had a chance to see some of these pictures, and as we stated, there's a lot of challenges, and this is just one area that we are focusing on. We plan on hitting all the areas, all our beat zone. We have 4 beat zones here in Douglas, and primarily this was beat zone 2. We're going to be looking at in May or June beat zone 3 and 1.
Correct.
I'm going to get it right. And then we will subsequently work on 4 thereafter. But what we're trying to do is hopefully accomplish some things with trying to help people in neighborhoods have better quality of life. All people ask for who are either purchasing or have purchased or renting is to have at least some decent quality of life in their communities. Now, in the future, as a matter of fact, me and Rodger talked about that this morning. While we got a few minutes here, we have some other things that we're going to be looking at down the road. We normally, at least once or twice a year, we do what we call ordinance review.
Correct.
we as staff look at things, what we're hearing from citizens and what we're hearing from elected officials of concerns that they have, and we look at our ordinances and see what things that we might need to revamp or actually add to our list of ordinances. And one of the major concerns that you've seen here today on this presentation that what Rodger's done is that once we do put those things in front of Mayor Commission and they adopt them, they expect for those to be enforced. And that's kind of where we're leading. Now, we would prefer, once again, compliance.
Compliance, voluntary compliance.
Voluntary compliance is the name of this game, so we hope that people will do that. But if you will, Rodger, talk about one that's in particular before we take a break, about the noise issue, a noise ordinance. That'd be a good one to kind of give them a kind of a segue into what we're going to be looking at down the road.
In the past, we had a loud music ordinance, and during the course of revamping some other ordinances, that one was kind of put to the side and overlooked, and so we are trying to come up with a new city ordinance. Right now, you know, it's kind of, if we get called to loud music, you know, the only thing that we have to resort to is disorderly conduct or a nuisance abatement. And but we hate to see it go to the point where you get a disorderly conduct charge.
Right.
So we're looking at redoing the ordinance and putting a time cap limit on there and trying to put a reasonable way to meter without having to go to an expense to have to get decibel meter.
Yeah, decibel meter.
But a reasonable way that the citizens can understand how, you know, what is too loud. And to me, the basic general rule, if you can walk to your property line and you can hear your music or whatever, you may be disturbing your neighbors. So that, you know, as we having complaints from commissioners and the citizens about the loud noise.
Right.
And so, but that's one thing we're going to be working on.
All right. And it's a very sensitive situation. I know in another community that when I was working at, we had a light ordinance because sometimes we had what you call trespass light. And same principle here, where you have trespass noise, where noise inhibits the ability of another neighbor to have a good quality of life, and it impedes on their ability to have a peaceful rest or whatever they so want to do. So we got to strike a balance as best we can, but we once again are going to try to develop something that's going to be hopefully, you know, amenable for all people that, you know, want to have a decent quality life in their community. So, well, Rodger, we probably haven't covered the whole hour, but I definitely appreciate you being on the show here today, and we're going to probably take a break and we're going to do some closing comments once we come back from the break with Rodger, and I'm going to let him go, release him from his in capture. So we're going to take a break right after these messages.
WDTV 13. Programming is sponsored by
Storage Solutions, etc., locally owned and operated and located at 1010 Bowens Mill Road, Southeast in Douglas. Crystal Sermons, LLC Legal Services, supporting your local programming, WDTV 13, with offices in Atlanta and Ocilla, Georgia. Dewey Hayes Jr., attorney at law, selected to the top 100 trial lawyers in the state of Georgia. 100 Men in Black and Roscoe Allen Company. 100 Men in Black working to bring unity to our community since 2002. Boss Riders and Roscoe Allen Company. The Boss Riders serving the Coffee County community for over 20 years.
We're back with more Douglas on My Mind, and I want to thank Rodger Goddard for being on the show today. We had a great Operation Quality of Life event on April the 24th. It entailed the police department, community development, and some of us from the City Hall.